and gentlemen, today I am going to discuss something that so many of us struggle with quietly, deeply, and often in the dark: knowing your worth. And I'm not talking about just repeating affirmations in the mirror or dressing yourself up to feel better for a moment. I'm talking about an unshakable identity, a value that you carry in your spirit, in your decisions, and in how you allow others to treat you. Somewhere along the way, we learned how to settle. Somewhere along the way, we started believing that being loved meant being chosen, even if we were only half seen. We got so used to asking for crumbs that we forgot we deserved the feast. But baby, I came here to tell you today, your worth was never tied to his attention. Your value was never dependent on how well he loves you, how often he called, or whether or not he stayed. Your worth is God-given, not man-assigned. See, what the enemy wants is for you to stay small. He wants you to keep shrinking yourself so someone else can feel big. He wants you to beg for affection, to chase validation, to perform just to feel like you matter. But God didn't create you to be tolerated. He created you to be treasured. There is a difference between someone liking the idea of you and someone being prepared to honor the reality of you. There's a difference between someone enjoying your energy and someone being capable of stewarding your heart. And when you don't know your worth, you start confusing presence with purpose. Just because he's around doesn't mean he's for you. So many of us keep giving second, third, and fourth chances, not because they changed, but because we still haven't decided we're worthy of better. And that's the root of it. We haven't decided. We haven't declared, I am enough, even if you don't see it. We haven't claimed our healing because we keep hoping someone else will make us feel whole. But let me tell you something. There is no apology, no text message, no relationship status that can fill the God-sized hole in your spirit that only identity can fix. When you know who you are, I mean really know who you are, you stop auditioning. You stop lowering the bar just to keep someone who was never ready to rise with you. And I get it. Walking away is hard. Silence feels empty. The bed feels colder. The phone doesn't ring. And for a while, you'll question if you made the right decision. But hear me, peace will never scream as loud as chaos. But peace, true peace, will cradle you in truth. And the truth is, you are the prize. You are the answered prayer. You are the covering. You are the favor. You are the crown. And it is not arrogance to know that. It is not pride to say, I will not be mishandled. That is wisdom. That is stewardship over what God placed in you. And baby, when you know your worth, you stop watering dead things. You stop fighting to be understood by someone who never planned to understand you. You stop explaining your heart to people who are only committed to your body. You don't have to teach someone how to value you when they're ready to. Love doesn't require convincing. Love recognizes. And if he couldn't see it, hear me now. That is not your burden to carry. When you start walking in your worth, something shifts. The way you speak shifts. The way you move shifts. You start making decisions that honor your future instead of your fears. You stop making room for people who only drain you. You stop apologizing for being too much, and you start realizing that too much for the wrong one is just right for the one who sent. And it's not about making him feel the pain of losing you out of revenge. It's about standing so firmly in your value that your absence speaks louder than your begging ever did. That when he looks for you again, all he finds is growth. All he hears is silence. All he sees is a woman who decided her peace was more important than pleasing him. So to every woman in here who's questioning if you're enough, you are. To every woman wondering if walking away makes you weak, it doesn't. It makes you powerful. Because when you know your worth, you don't chase love, you choose it. And when you choose you, something radical happens. You realize that not every exit requires a dramatic goodbye. Not every ending needs an explanation. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is go silent. Not to punish, not to manipulate, but to preserve your peace, to protect your growth, to draw a line between where you were and where you're going. See, when you've walked through the fire of knowing your worth, when you picked up the pieces of your heart by yourself, when you've looked in the mirror and said, I deserve better, there's no longer a need to shout that truth as someone who chose not to listen in the first place. Sometimes silence says everything. You don't need to post about it. You don't need to call and remind him of what he lost. You don't need to explain why you pulled away, because when someone takes your presence for granted, the gift is in the absence. And let me tell you something, your silence, your distance, your disconnection is going to speak volumes that your words never could. I know you used to be the one who fixed it, the one who reached out first, the one who sent the long text and poured out your heart, hoping it would wake him up. But now you're in a different place. Now you understand that your energy is sacred, that your love isn't something to be handled casually, that you can't keep pouring yourself out to someone who never had the capacity to hold you in the first place. And I'm not saying it won't hurt. I'm not saying there won't be moments when the silence feels like a weight on your chest. But the truth is that silence is where the healing begins. That silence is where God starts whispering clarity into your spirit. Because as long as you're wrapped up in noise, his excuses, his promises, his patterns, you won't be able to hear the still small voice that's calling you forward. Silence is powerful because it disrupts comfort. It creates space. And listen, when people lose access to what they once took for granted, it forces them to reflect. Maybe not right away, maybe not in the timeline you hope for, but trust me, when you stop showing up, when you stop explaining, when you stop fighting for a seat at the table, it leaves a void. And some of you need to hear this. You are not mean for protecting your peace. You are not heartless for going quiet. You are not selfish for saying, I can't do this anymore. You are not wrong for choosing your future over his potential. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. When you go silent, you create distance, and in that distance, truth begins to settle. Sometimes he has to sit with the echo of your absence to realize how loud your presence was. Sometimes he has to scroll through his phone and notice the lack of your name lighting up his screen. Sometimes he has to go to bed and feel the stillness that used to be filled with your voice, your laughter, your spirit. That's when he'll feel it. That's when the weight of your worth starts to register. But let me be clear, this silence isn't about him, it's about you. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about no longer giving access to people who don't respect the privilege of your presence. It's about showing yourself that you don't need to beg, convince, or compete to be loved. Because if someone can't appreciate you when you're fully present, they don't deserve explanations when you decide to walk away. And here's the hard truth. Some people won't understand your silence because they were never listening to your words in the first place. They heard your laughter but missed your pain. They saw your smile but ignored your tears. So when you stop talking, they'll finally have to confront what they chose to overlook. You become a mirror when you go silent, a mirror to their neglect, a mirror to their indifference, a mirror to the void they created by failing to show up for you the way you showed up for them. And I need you to stand firm in that silence. Don't rush back because you're uncomfortable. Don't break it because they finally noticed. Let them sit with the loss. Let them wrestle with the weight of your absence. Because if you go back too soon, if you fill that gap too quickly, they'll never feel what they need to feel in order to grow. This is your season to stand tall in stillness, to trust that your withdrawal isn't weakness but wisdom, to believe that your peace is more important than their approval. You've done the talking, you've done the trying, now let your silence speak. Because while you're silent, while you're choosing your peace over the performance, while you're letting them sit with the emptiness they created, you get to go to work on you. And I'm not just talking about work like hustle, like grind, like prove them wrong energy. I'm talking about healing, about rising, about glowing from the inside out. See, when you finally stop chasing people who don't know how to hold you, you start chasing purpose. And baby, there is nothing more powerful than a woman who turns her heartbreak into a breakthrough. Nothing more radiant than a woman who turns her silence into a sanctuary where God meets her and starts building her back up. This is your glow up season. Not for him, not for them, not for anybody else watching, but for you. Because when you glow up from the inside, when you start working on your soul, your mind, your body, your vision, you become unshakable, unrecognizable. You become the version of yourself that the broken version of you could only dream about. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how easy it is to lose yourself in people who don't know your value. How easy it is to forget your goals, your health, your voice, just trying to be enough for someone who never even deserved your best. But hear me, this is the season where you get to come home to you, to your body, to your dreams, to your calling. Start feeding yourself, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. Start nourishing the parts of you that got neglected while you were too busy trying to keep a connection alive. Get in the gym, not to be seen, but to feel strong. Eat well, not to impress, but because your body is sacred. Read books, go to therapy, write the vision down. Because every step you take toward wholeness is a step away from the version of you that was begging for love. And let me tell you something that might set somebody free today. Healing is not pretty. Growth is not glamorous. The glow up isn't all Instagram filters and flawless skin. Sometimes it's tears on your bathroom floor. Sometimes it's setting boundaries with the same people you used to call every day. Sometimes it's loneliness before it's peace. But it is worth it. You see, real growth doesn't just change how you look, it changes how you see. You begin to see yourself different. You begin to see your time as valuable. You begin to see that love isn't supposed to hurt, drain, confuse, or belittle you. And when your eyes open, you can't go back to sleep. You can't unsee your worth once you've tasted the freedom of self-love. And baby, don't be surprised when they try to come back. Don't be shocked when they say you've changed. Because yes, you have changed and you were supposed to. That's the point. You don't survive what you survived and stay the same. You don't walk through the fire and come out looking like smoke. You come out shining. And listen, the glow up is not revenge. That's too small for you. You didn't go through all that pain just to prove a point. You're not rising to make someone else regret losing you. You're rising because there's a call on your life. There's purpose still pulsing in your belly. There's peace waiting for you on the other side of your brokenness. This isn't revenge, it's redemption. I need you to stop looking in the rearview mirror, waiting for them to notice you. I need you to stop measuring your progress by their attention. You don't need their applause. You don't need closure from someone who didn't have the courage to love you right the first time. You are your own confirmation. Your growth, your joy, your wholeness, that's the closure. Start walking in rooms like you belong there, not because you're arrogant, but because you do. Start speaking up, making decisions, moving forward like a woman who knows her power, because you do have power. You always did. It was just buried under their expectations, their limitations, their projections. Now you're free. And with that freedom comes responsibility. You're responsible for protecting your light. You're responsible for choosing relationships that match your growth. You're responsible for not shrinking just to make someone else comfortable. The woman you're becoming, she doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't settle, she selects. She doesn't beg, she belongs. She doesn't break down over who left, she builds with who stayed. And sometimes that means building with God and herself alone. So while he's out there confused, wondering what happened, feeling that quiet ache of your absence, you'll be somewhere glowing, growing, and going forward all the way into the future. God prepared for you before you ever knew the pain of losing what was never worthy of you in the first place. Because when you start glowing and growing, when the light comes back into your eyes and your shoulders rise with confidence again, there's one more thing that starts shifting. Your environment, the circle around you, the voices that surround you, the energy you allow into your life. And baby, let me tell you, your next level cannot be built in the same environment that broke you. You can't do all this healing, all this rising, all this evolving, and then sit at the same table with people who only knew the version of you that tolerated dysfunction. You can't ask God to take you higher and still hold on to the friendships, relationships, and environments that kept you playing small. The old you was fine with noise. The old you was okay with chaos, but this new version of you, she's different. She needs peace. She needs purpose. She needs power in her proximity. This is the season where you have to audit your circle. Not everyone can go with you. And that's not pride, that's protection. It doesn't mean you're better than anyone. It just means you've outgrown certain dynamics. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with disappointing people who only love the version of you that was easily accessible, always available, and constantly pouring from an empty cup. There's something sacred about choosing your future over your comfort. There's something powerful about saying, I love you, but I can't stay here. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about your destiny to stop entertaining what drains it. It means you care enough about your healing to stop sitting in circles that poke at your scars. And it's not just about the people, it's about the patterns. What habits are you still holding on to that belong to the broken version of you? What thought loops do you keep playing in your mind? What language do you speak over yourself every day? Because real transformation doesn't just come from therapy sessions or Sunday sermons. It comes from daily decision. And if you want a different life, you have to build different habits. You have to start talking to yourself like someone who is loved. You have to start moving like someone who believes God didn't bring her this far just to leave her in pieces. You have to start thinking like someone who knows she's equipped for this. And when you shift your mindset, your environment will start reflecting it. Suddenly, those low vibration conversations won't satisfy you anymore. That gossip, that drama, that chaos, it starts to sound like noise to a healed soul. You start seeking rooms that challenge you, people who stretch you, conversations that build you. And it might feel lonely at first. Oh, I know that part. The loneliness of leveling up is real, because when you've been used to dysfunction, peace can feel uncomfortable. When you've been surrounded by people who needed you broken, your wholeness can threaten them. But listen, don't dim your light just to make people comfortable in your shadow. Don't shrink so you can fit back into spaces you were called to grow out of. Don't you dare go back to average when you've already seen a glimpse of what extraordinary looks like. You have to get serious about your space, about your boundaries, about who has access to your heart, your mind, your time. Not everybody should be able to reach you. Not because you're being distant, but because you're being disciplined. Healing taught you that energy is expensive, and baby, you can't afford to keep paying the cost for people who never poured back into you. Start saying no without guilt. Start resting without apology. Start protecting your progress like your life depends on it, because it does. And when someone asks why you've changed, why you don't come around like you used to, why you're not the same, look them in the eye and say, because I'm building something, because I've got a future to protect, because I'm no longer entertaining anything that threatens my peace or delays my purpose. And here's the beautiful part. When you start honoring your space, you begin attracting what aligns with your growth. You stop settling for half love, half effort, half presence. You start calling in whole relationships, people who see you, people who challenge you, people who cover you, not confuse you, people who don't just celebrate your shine, they help you polish it. This is your time to live full, love whole, and protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. You've done the work. You're doing the work now. Build a life that honors that work. One day you'll look around and realize you don't miss the chaos. You don't crave the attention. You don't even think about who left, because what you've built around you now, it's stronger, it's healthier, it's real. And when your life starts reflecting that realness, that peace, that wholeness, that alignment, don't be surprised when the one who couldn't honor you before suddenly tries to come back. Don't be caught off guard when the same one who mishandled you starts saying, you've always been the one. Because see, this is where it gets real personal. Sometimes they don't feel the pain of losing you until they see who you became without them. It's not that they didn't notice your value. They just never thought you'd wake up to it. They never expected you to stop waiting. They thought you'd always be there. They got used to your forgiveness, your grace, your patience. They got comfortable with the version of you that stayed quiet, that showed up, that held them down even while they were tearing you down. But when you decided to choose you, when you got silent, when you started healing, when you stopped answering every call and replying to every apology, they felt it. Maybe not right away, maybe not the first week, the first month, but eventually they felt the void. They felt the silence. They felt the power of a woman who finally remembered who she was, and now they want to come back. But listen to me. This is the part where you must be strong, because they don't miss you. They miss the version of you that made their life easier. They miss the access. They miss the comfort. They miss the security of knowing you were always going to pick them. And it's not always love that brings them back. Sometimes it's ego. Sometimes it's control. Sometimes it's just the realization that you're no longer their safety net. But you're not that woman anymore. You're not the woman who second guesses herself. You're not the woman who lowers her standards to keep someone close. You're not the woman who trades her peace for company. You're not the woman who gives and gives and gives just to be seen. That woman, she evolved, she grew, she healed. So when they try to re-enter, I need you to pause. I need you to remember the nights you cried yourself to sleep. I need you to remember how small you felt. I need you to remember how hard it was to pick yourself back up. And I need you to ask one simple question. Does their return match my resurrection? Because if they haven't grown, if they haven't changed, if they still speak the same old language of manipulation dressed up as charm, don't open the door. Let your growth protect you. Let your healing defend you. Don't allow someone to come back into your life just because they finally feel the weight of your absence. Your worth does not expire because someone finally woke up too late. They don't get to come back and sit at the table you built while they were absent. They don't get to feast on the fruit of your healing when they left you in the soil. They don't get to enjoy the light if they couldn't handle the process. This is where wisdom kicks in. This is where you stop letting nostalgia lie to you. Just because it feels familiar doesn't mean it's healthy. Just because they sound sincere doesn't mean they're safe. Just because they say they've changed doesn't mean they've done the work. You've done too much to go back to what broke you. You've cried too many tears to make room for what cost you your peace. You've sacrificed too much to let someone walk back in and treat you like an option all over again. This is not bitterness, this is boundaries. And let me speak to your heart for a moment. You are not a bad person for saying, no thank you. You are not cold for saying, I'm not that woman anymore. You are not heartless for protecting what you fought to rebuild. You are brave. You are wise. You are powerful. Because here's what I know. When you truly rise, when you glow up spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, it shifts the atmosphere around you. Your presence becomes heavier. Your silence becomes louder. Your absence becomes unforgettable. And that's why they feel it. That's why they suddenly care. Because now they see what they lost. But that pain, that's their assignment, not yours. You don't need to rush in and comfort it. You don't need to explain or defend or reopen wounds just to soothe someone else's regret. Your job is to keep becoming, to keep building, to keep thriving, because your story is no longer about what they lost. It's about what you found. You found peace. You found strength. You found identity. You found purpose. And most of all, you found you.